Hello everyone. This video is going to be a little bit different than what I normally do. Typically when I'm making videos, it's just about talking about the DFS slates for the night and my plays and my thoughts about whatever sport that I'm working on. I think going forward in 2022, my main focuses are going to continue to be CSGO, League of Legends, and I will throw Call of Duty in there as well. I'm not sure if Valorant is going to continue, but I am a well-known hater of Valorant. I think it's just a children's version of CSGO, so I'm just an elitist that way. I've personally been playing CSGO, I think for 8 to 10 years now. So it's been a significant portion of my life. That's a third of my life. I'm 23 going on 24 this year. So, you know, when you say you've been playing a game since you were 15, that's a significant portion of your life. So that's where I stand. The same could apply for Call of Duty and League of Legends as well. That's why I've have a unique approach to CSGO, League of Legends, and Call of Duty. They're just things that I have so much experience and so much history and that kind of stuff in. That's pretty much how I, choose to approach these things. It's pretty unique, and I think that's something that can kind of set me apart from most people. This isn't intended to, I don't know, throw shade, although it may sound like it. But a lot of people kind of converted from traditional sports to esports when COVID started, mainly because there was nothing else. There were no other sports because obviously because COVID was new and there wasn't the ability to do anything. So all sports were canceled and they were gone for months. Everyone resorted to learning esports. But that was a space I was already in for years. And having a deep rooted knowledge of players and game mechanics and all that kind of stuff kind of put me ahead in that aspect. And it really launched my career and my passion in this space, having increased prize pools and all that kind of stuff. So I wanted to talk a little bit about general roster construction today, just for mainly focusing on CSGO. Hopefully, if you guys are watching this, then you have already been watching some of my League of Legends stuff. And I'm going to assume that you guys know at least DFS basics and that kind of stuff. So I'll try to walk through a little bit about how CSGO, how scoring works, how you want to construct your lineups, and that kind of stuff. What inspired me to make this video today is last night when I was sleeping. Actually, the slate started about 6 or 7 a.m. my time. I'm not sure. We had a CSGO 2 gamer, and I managed to take it down. I got first in the tournament, and then everything else I was in. I believe this was the optimal. I believe this would have had to have been the optimal lineup from last night. It was only a 2 gamer, so it wasn't exactly a crazy thing. But yeah, we could talk a little bit about what happened last night, how we can learn from it and continue to convert. I do want to preface this that I'm someone who just does enjoy these games and love these games and that kind of stuff. I do make my living from it, but I'm not some crazy, I don't know, Osmo level player who's, raking in crazy amounts of money. I play single entry stuff and pretty lowish stakes. I do, continue to try to raise them as I continue to win money and, kind of compound things that way. But just for transparency, I like to make all those things apparent. Just for the sake of doing so. Makes me feel a little bit better knowing having you guys know where I am, all together. So, yeah, last night, I believe my entries were, I don't know, $26, $27 only. And I managed to win about 1,200. I got first in everything I entered, and we can talk about that a little bit now. So here was the lineup. It was a 3-man stack with the Eternal Fire team with Xantares, Woxic, and Xfloud. And then on the second series, it was Wisla Krakow versus Maus Next. And I had a 2-stack from Wisla and then a 1-off from Maus Next. And I could talk about why this lineup made a lot of sense beforehand and obviously why it did end up coming through. So we go... I'm just trying to think real quickly of how I want to approach this. We can just quickly go over the stats. So as you guys could see, actually, for this to make sense, we should go over scoring first, I think. So contest details. Yeah, so, yep, here we go. So obviously the captain will get 1 times 1.5x fantasy point values, but their salaries are obviously going to be increased. The main thing with CSGO, I assume you guys know maybe at least a little bit. If not, then you might want to watch like some videos and stuff on it. But essentially it's 5 attackers versus 5 defenders. And the main objective is to plant the bomb and explode the bomb if you're on offense. Or you can kill all 5 defenders. That's how you win a round. Then if you're on defense, the way you win a round is either with the time going down, which is rare, somewhat rare, but not entirely uncommon. And then also killing all 5 attackers. And the objective is to be the first to win 16 rounds. There's 30 rounds in a map. And then most typically it'll be best of 3 maps. Occasionally there's best of 1s, and very, very rarely there are things of best of 2s. Although those are pretty unlikely to see on a CSGO slate. So here I have the scoring pulled up. It's pretty simple stuff. There's not a lot really to go through. You get 1.5 points for a kill, 1 point for an assist, minus a point for a death. So very similar to League of Legends. However, in League of Legends, there's much less action. Maybe that's not the right term, but there's a lot less like kills happening, that kind of stuff. It's typically in CSGO there's going to be like 75 kills per team per game, so about 150 total. And then in League of Legends you're probably going to see like 45, 50 kills in a game. So these things add up much differently. So that's something to keep in mind. There's a small half a point bonus for getting the first kill of the round. This is something I don't focus on a lot. However, it is a good little bonus, maybe to use like a tiebreaker and that sort of thing. But mainly, the bulk of the scoring is mainly just kills, assists, and deaths. You want to have more kills than deaths, so you want a positive KD. That's what KD stands for, kills divided by deaths. And then assists, again, is something that it's hard to predict. I don't know, it's a lot like, I don't know, maybe something like steals or blocks in NBA, or I don't know. It's hard to think, but it's just hard to get a prediction on that. So it'll be pretty variance based, but it's something that you like. It's not going to be huge. Like a lot of people get a lot of assists anyway. So the difference between like somebody who gets a lot and somebody who doesn't won't be that apparent, but again, that's something maybe you could use slightly as like a tiebreaker and that sort of thing. The point bonuses come from 1vx clutches, so 1v2, 1v3, 1v4, 1v5s. Obviously the like 1v5, 1v4s are pretty rare. 1v3s and 1v2s are they're still rare. So that's something you don't really need to focus on. That's something like I pretty much just like kind of X out of scoring. It's like if it happens, it happens. It's really hard. It's really hard to predict. There's like very little factors that go into who wins clutches. There are some things like certain players will have like they'll be alive last more often, so there are more opportunities to clutch. But again, it's a lot like it's a lot of randomness that goes into that. And again, like winning a 1v2 is the same amount as an assist and less than a kill. So it's not even like really worth chasing. The quantifiable and important ones, bonuses that you need to focus on here are the quad kill and the ace. These are pretty important, as you know, when you have players that get 4 kills and 5 kills in a round, those add up very heavily. Like you guys could see here, for like my winning lineup, I had players score 80. I believe this translates to 90 something. And then we had 64, 68, 75, 70. So we're talking about getting 70 points here in a whole series. And when you talk about getting an ace, so that's 5 kills in a round, you get 5 points for that, plus the 5 kill points, that's 7.5, I believe. So you're looking at 12.5 points in one round. And remember, there's like 30 rounds in a map, and you play 2 maps, so you can have like 60 rounds. Probably less than that, obviously, because one team will win. But you're looking at like 50-ish rounds. So if you can get like 20% of your score in one round when there's 50 rounds of action, it's obviously going to be a huge boost. As you could see here, I think Woxic had a 5K. Xantaris had a 5K and a 4K. MHL had a 4K. Sobal had a 4K. xCloud had 2 4Ks. So those really make a difference and add up. And that's really what you're looking for. The main thing here, I'll show you guys where to get these stats and stuff. Pretty much everything will be on Hltv, and I'll show you guys how I built this lineup yesterday. And the main thing is you want to focus on players with a positive kill death ratio, so they get more kills than deaths. Assists and entry kills are tiebreakers. Those are decent. Those can be useful, although they're pretty unpredictable. And then quad kills and aces. You want to focus on these a lot. People who get big multi-kills in rounds. I'll show you guys how to look at those stats here in a second. But again, keep in mind that's what we're focusing on is kill death ratio and multi-kill rounds. So going to yesterday, we had just a 2-gamer in the Pinnacle CSGO series. I believe it's sponsored just by the sportsbook, although maybe it's just a name. I'm not entirely sure. I don't remember. So we had Eternal Fire. I believe this was a pick'em game. And you may be thinking, like, who stacks this is for the future. Who stacks a 3-man stack in a pick'em game? And the reason I did this is because if you look at their statistics, I guess I could show you guys this as well as I'm going through it. So pretty much everything you'll ever need for CSGO will most likely be on Hltv. There are probably going to be other stats and stat providers, but hltv.org it's just a long-lasting forum. Like, I'm sure if you guys do not look at the forums, I would recommend against that. There's going to be a lot of weird things you'll see there, so ignore that part. We're focused on the statistics and that kind of stuff. Sorry, I just saw something so stupid in the forum part over here, and I lost my train of thought from that. But again, hltv.org, I'll link it in the description if I remember. And pretty much all the stats you'll need are going to be here. So you'll find like today's matches and what we're going to look at here. But we'll go to the past one. And then you can see the 2 teams here. And then typically what you can do is you'll just like open up the team tabs. And then head down to the stats. And then all stats. And it brings up this page. Typically the first thing I like to do is I hit replace context with lineup. What this does is it makes it so all the stats showing up are just for these 5 players. If there are like 6-man rosters, which I think are rare, but although not, like they exist, even though they're rare. I'm not sure where I was going, what I was trying to say there, but They do exist, although they are rare. But typically they're going to have just a regular 5-man roster, and it'll bring up the stats exactly just for these players. So the main thing I like to focus on is time filter. You can mess around with other stuff, but that's a little bit more advanced. I might talk about those in a little bit here, but mainly I like to set it to the last month. And I know a lot of people, you'll probably hear people wanting to have a broader filter. And the reason I personally just disagree with having a broad filter and doing like last 3 months, the latest I'll go is last 3 months, and that's if 1 month has a lack of data. So if we do like last 3 months, we'll get like 78 maps played, but if we go to last month, we'll get 15. There was a like winter break it was like off season essentially for these teams. And the reason I do this is because I, as a player and a longtime viewer of CSGO, the main thing that I like to look at is like current form, recent form, that kind of thing. These players play like all day, every day. We can check the match history. So they played January 19th, took a break. They played the 26th, 27th, 28th, and the 31st. So they've been grinding. They've been playing already early on this year. And the game itself is extremely like day to day and feel oriented. Like I guess maybe it'd be akin to like baseball hitters. I think that's probably like the best representation I can give. And the reason I say that is because sometimes when you're just feeling it, your individual talent can like outweigh a lot of things. And when you're having a good feel for the game and you're, hitting your shots and have a good map awareness, like so when you're just feeling it and you're feeling better about the game, you're going to perform a lot better. And I think having stats from months ago has like very little effect on this. So there are other people probably smarter than me who believe that like a 3-month sample is where you want to go, maybe even more. I think it can be used like some situations. However, I like to leave it at last month. For the other filters, we could just leave this on all matches. I don't think I ever change that. For the ranking filter, this one can be used, but again, this is something I use very, very rarely. And the reason I do that is because when you set it to like top 20, well, this is a bad example, but like this team, Eternal Fire, they have not played a top 20 team in the world. Set it to top 50. They've played a few games. But the HLTV rankings are a good like starting point. They're not gonna mislead you that often. However, they're just not perfect. So sorting the teams by their ranking isn't exactly ideal. Like for example, I think Team Liquid is probably like a top 10, top 15 team in the world at least. And I think their HLTV ranking is like 223 right now, just because they've swapped players and that kind of stuff. So that's why you don't always want to have the ranking filter on. Although you can, like if for example, you have 2 top 10 teams going against each other, and you only want data from like when 2 top 10 teams play each other, you can sort by top 10, top 20. I would say like top 20 is probably where I'll go, because I think that's about how many like good elite teams there are in the world. But typically I'll just like to leave it on all. And then for the map filter, this is something I do mess with probably like a little bit later into the year when we have a little bit more data on that kind of stuff. So this might be a little bit advanced for you guys, but hopefully it can help some people here. So we can look at some predictability in CSGO. So I'm gonna bring up the like last 3 maps, or the last three matches here for Eternal Fire. I'll go to their map page, and as we can see, Eternal Fire in the map pick and ban, Eternal Fire removed Nuke and they picked Mirage. They removed a nuke and picked Dust 2, and they removed Ancient and picked Vertigo. So we know that they don't like to play nuke, so they'll typically remove that from the map pool, and they've had a different pick every time. But if you're doing a deep dive, you can go through like all their things, and you can typically get a good idea of what teams will ban. So we know Eternal Fire like to ban nuke, and we know, like, let's see, we could check Dignitas. This is for as an example. So they banned Dust 2, they removed Dust 2, and they removed Dust 2. So we know Dignitas are always going to be banning Dust 2, and Eternal Fire are most likely going to be removing Nuke. And then for the pick, they go with Ancient, Vertigo, Mirage, so 3 different picks. So that doesn't give us a ton of information. For example, for this, for what would have been in this series, or Eternal Fire Dignitas. But we know there's not going to be Dust 2, and there's not going to be Nuke, most likely. So what we can do is set the filter to, like, every other map at the moment. You guys might have to, like, look up the map pool. It's probably going to be on the, like, tournament page. Like, if we go to click on this Pinnacle Winter Series here, we can scroll down and you can see the map pool here. So Dust 2, Mirage, Inferno, Nuke, Overpass, Vertigo. I believe that's 7 maps. It's typically the rotation. So we know there's not going to be Nuke and Dust. Cash, Season, Tuscan, those are older maps. Same with Train and Cobblestone. And then Overpass as well. So now we have a better sample of what we could expect in this series. So if we look at this team who played, we know there's not going to be a Dust 2. We know there's not going to be Nuke. And then these other 5 maps are currently not in the rotation. Those are older maps. Those are just on the website for older, like, bookkeeping purposes. But obviously, you guys can see the map pool and know what to eliminate. So we know that these are the only 5 maps these teams could play. I'll just do the same thing here for showmanship here. Vertigo, Ancient, and Overpass. So we look here, and now I don't remember what the I think it was 18 maps, and now we're down to 12 maps. So we just get a more specific sample of what we anticipate to happen in terms of maps. And again, same thing over here as well. I think all their games are probably in this sample, but at least now we know we have a specific sample of the maps that will most likely be played. Sometimes pick and ban is a lot of predictability. Sometimes it's not. It's just something that if you really want to go into a deep dive, that is an option. And as you could see, we now have good set of information. I feel comfortable with this information, and we can start to compare players. But actually, one last step that I like to do beforehand is I like to look at the team kill death ratio. Now, this is something that matters a good amount. So it's a little hard to put on an exact reason why some teams just have better kill death ratios. It comes down to maybe like aggression levels, or like how safe they want to play, or that kind of stuff. It's a little unpredictable. These things aren't going to be this drastic that often. But as you guys can see, this Dignitas lineup here, they played 16 maps, and they're 10-6. But they only have a kill death ratio of 1.04. So that means they get like barely above. They get like a little bit more kills than they do deaths. And then over on the Eternal Fire side, they hit 1.16. This is a pretty solid team kill death ratio. And you know that this team is just typically going to have more kills than deaths. So that's positive for what we're looking for in DFS. And then obviously, this has the Dignitas information in it. But going before that, they would have been 7-2. And they would have been 9-4. So it's a pretty big gap there. And then again, like the big kill death ratio disparity and the fact that it was a coin flip, led me on to picking Eternal Fire here. So we go to the players tab. There's literally just a thing to sort by kill death ratio here. You just click on it and it obviously just sorts it. And that's like the easiest, simple. You can't get much easier than that, like research level. Some things will come with experience, like the stats will tell you this, but like, for example, we know Xantares and Woxic, they've both played on much better teams. They're incredibly talented players who played at the top levels of Counter-Strike, and now they're currently kind of stuck in a lower level. They're playing super well, but it's kind of hard. There's not a lot of talent in Turkey, and they wanted to go with the Turkish lineup here. So that it kind of leads to them being much stronger. So that's how I got to the conclusion that I wanted to play Eternal Fire. They have a lot higher of a team KD, and so like even if it is close, they should end up being on the better side of it. They have a lot stronger players, and they have a lot of the one thing I like to look at here is they have defined kind of like kill shares and roles. So we know Xantares and Woxic, like they have a super high kill death ratio. 1.3 is an amazing number, and we are going to love that for us. We know Calyx has a negative kill death ratio, so we know he's not going to be somebody who's competing for all those kills. And then the same thing with Emor, he has a pretty low kill death ratio, so we know he's not going to be contending for those kills either. So if Eternal Fire win, we know it's probably going to be done through Xantares and Woxic. On the Dignitas side, we can see it's pretty flat. Like Lekro, Heap, Forest, they're all pretty close to each other. So even if they do win, it's going to be tough to pin down who exactly you're going to want. We know Halzerk is doing pretty good and Freiberg is doing pretty bad, but still picking the right players seems a little tough here. So that just led me straight to the Eternal Fire side. It just seemed like all the things were leading to that, and that's where I ended up going, and that's what I liked here. So hopefully you guys can take what hopefully I've learned here and apply to the future. We can kind of quickly run down the same thing with the other series, the Wisla Krakow Maus Next game. So we know Maus Next is the academy team for Maus, who is a top, 10 team in the world, we'll just say conservatively for now. And then we'll set all the same parameters last month, replace context. And as you could see, these are two pretty strong teams. They both win about twice as often as they lose. And then the team kill death ratio, there's not a big disparity here, but it's slightly towards Wisla Krakow. And then we head over to the player section. As you guys can see, we have Snatchy above everyone else. We have MHL above everyone else. And we have Xertion, JDC, and Suhai. Xertion and JDC are up there. Suhai and Shen are a little bit lower. So we have a decent condensed kill share here. MHL standing out, and then on the other side we have a lot of solid players. However, Snatchy, Sobol, and Jedker are above everyone else. Goofy wasn't terrible, and then Sparrow down there by himself. So pretty much taking all the stuff that we applied from the first series, applying it to the second series. We have super solid high kill death ratios here in what is supposed to be a close series. I believe Maus Next were like minus 150 or minus 130, something like that. So there wasn't any big favorites in this series at all. And as you can see, MHL is high above everyone, Snatchy is high above everyone. And that is pretty much what I built. I had Xantares, Woxic, Xfloud. I had no idea why Xfloud was 7.5%. He was the lowest priced player on Eternal Fire, so maybe people just X out that player. But however, if you guys remember the stats that I was just showing you, he was their third best player. So this was a little fortunate that people just didn't play Xfloud when he was there performing so well statistically. But we take those obviously. And then from there, it was just kind of a salary thing. I believe I had 9K left, or I had 8K salary left. No, I had I had $9,000 for salary left, so I could play pretty much everyone except for Xertion. And that led me to Sobol. I figured the duo of Sobol, like Snatchy, Sobol, and MHL, I figured this would be like a unique approach to this game because typically people do like to just 3-stack these games. Like it is just a 2-gamer. That's what we have again tomorrow, but so we can talk about that maybe when we get there. But 2-gamers are pretty unexciting overall. And then, pretty much is like the only way really to get unique is to play people against each other. And we got, pretty fortunate, and that exactly is what happened. We had a Snatchy, Sobol, and MHL all, performing get there, and that ultimately led to us taking down everything. Obviously cash this. It was a 4-way tie. These things are going to happen in CSGO 2-gamers. There's only total 20 players, so getting unique combinations is not exactly easy. So, but we take the first any day of the week. That is for sure. So we can begin to look ahead a little bit to this slate, and hopefully you guys can learn some things here. So that's what we did to win yesterday. And then tomorrow is not an ideal slate. Go to the Pinnacle Winter Series. So there are 4 games, but they only do the last 2 for some reason. And I don't know why, but I don't know. It is what it is. And then this is remember for the series yesterday. I don't know how to say that. Just for the series yesterday. We had a pick'em and then a slight favorite in Mounds Next, and then tomorrow we have 2 pretty decent sized favorites. I obviously would not be afraid of picking like underdogs at this price. Like this isn't a crazy price. However, just like when you look at the series, so we can start with the Fnatic Apex series. So for Fnatic, we have Smooya, Alex, Mezzi, Crims, and Brawlan. Pretty strong team. They've been competing like around the bottom level of Tier 1 for a while. On the Apex side, we have Nock, who used to play for NIP. Chelsea, I believe he was on the NIP Academy team, if memory serves. Teams. He's on Galaxy Racer. That's where I remember him from. And then Asilian, we know him. J-Kim, we know him. Stiko, we know him. Like these are all decent players. But however, we can look and see. Time to check the stats on these teams. Again, set our parameters as we do. We'll go last month. So as you can see, last month, these numbers are not going to be good for Fnatic, but we have to take into consideration here with Fnatic that Astralis and Big, these are 2 of the best teams in the world. It doesn't show here. If we go to, I don't know where you show Hltv rankings, isn't it? Here on the left side. So we go to the Hltv rankings here. So we have Astralis in the 8th, Fnatic 11th, Big at 14th. So these are super strong teams. And then if you guys remember, Apex is 47th. So it's quite a big drop off here. That's why Fnatic are favored. So we know that Fnatic played 2 series against 2 super strong teams. They lost them both. The stats aren't going to be great here, but it's still we can still kind of apply the same logic. We know like Brawland, Smooya, and usually it was Mezzi are going to be performing. But this is a scenario where I could go to the 3-month filter, and we have a lot more information. Again, they were performing, going really hard, winning a lot of series last year. I remember they went on like this huge 14-game win streak. They kept it going. They lost this one to Gambit, but they didn't lose until they lost to Gambit. And Gambit was the, second best team in the world last year. So no shame in that. So this is a pretty strong team. We can use the 3-month player information here. We have Smooya, Mezzi, Brawlan, Crims, and Alex. I like this team a lot. It's pretty hard to get to Apex here. I don't know. I don't think the Apex is completely lifeless. I think Fnatic are just proven to be a little bit too strong for this team. So we can. The first thing I like to do really is like after I have picked my team and I think I'm going with Fnatic here. Uh, I'll just compare the pricing, and right off the bat we see their best players. They're third priced. Metzi, their second best player, is second price. That's fair. Brawlan is overpriced. Then we have Crims and Alex. So that's normal. But as you guys can see already, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to say Fnatic's best player is third priced. He's going to be super highly owned. I'd imagine he should be like 100% owned. Although I know people will be taking like an Apex shot anyway. So, it doesn't take a lot of information there, to figure that one out. And heading over to the second series, this one's actually a little bit more interesting. As you guys can see, the Furia have a new roster, if you guys are aware. They kept 4. They actually bring in Safi, and Safi is actually like a pretty intriguing prospect. See if he's played. No, he hasn't played anything. We can see he has super, super high, amazing statistics here for, like comparing to the average, like he's above everything there, and a super high kill death ratio. The main thing to remember here is he was just playing for a bad team in America, going against other super bad teams. Like these are pretty low level competition here. You guys will probably hear me like refer to tiers a lot. That's how kind of CSGO teams are separated. Tier 1 is the top competition. Obviously, it's pretty much just like the top flight in a sports league, like in a European Champions League or something. Like in the EPL, tier 1 would be like the top leagues. Tier 2 would be the ones underneath them. Tier 3 underneath them, and so on. I'd argue that like he has some games against some tier 2 teams, like Team 1, Bad News Bears, Extra Salt, Triumph, maybe. Those are like tier 2 teams, and then a lot of other tier 3 teams. So he's going to have super inflated stats, but we check his profile. I believe he is an opper, so he uses a sniper typically. Yeah, he has a 55% of his kills are with the op, so with that sniper rifle. So he's going to be like a pretty important part to this team, I think. And they got rid of Vinny, who was just like another kind of average player. And they get the series against Wisla Krakow. Pulling up their statistics quickly. You guys will know Safi was not there, so they're going to have no information here. Yep. So what we'll do is we'll remove Safi from the context. And yep, they have not played. This is their first game off the break. They only played a little bit before that even. So there's just like borderline no information to go off of here. But we can still piece some things together. And then obviously we just went over Wisla Krakow. They're still playing, the same as always. So this is actually like a pretty interesting series to me. This is again like in the pricing, I think Fnatic like is pretty fair here, minus 240. I think Fnatic probably get the job done 2-0. I think there's just like too much of a skill gap there. But here in this Furia Wisla Krakow series, there's just too much. There's just like a little bit too many question marks here for Furia. I still like them. Like here, I'm trying to get to this page so I can show you guys some other stuff. So the last 3 months, they've like as any amount of team in the last 3 months when they had Vinny, they've still only played 2 series in 3 months. And as you guys can see for Wisla Krakow, they've been grinding. Like that's a lot from off season, but they've had 31 maps this month. Going against somebody who's played 5 maps in 3 months, there's just a little bit like too steep of a like drop there. So there's just some hesitation with this for me here. It's still a little difficult to say like where you should be going, because the thing with Furia is Yuri and Quesarado are 2 very insanely skilled individual players. Like Quesarado is low key like I don't know what he ended up being in the Hltv rankings. I guess maybe it'll be on his profile. Nope. Maybe if we check it in a different way. So he was the 15th best player in 2021, and he's been top 22 years. Let's see if Yuri is here as well. Nope, he was 14th in 2020. He wasn't quite amazing last year, but still a top 20 player in the world last year in Keserato. Yuri, who was not far behind him. And then we know Art has an incredibly unique, aggressive play style. There's a video, I believe, by the CSGO caster Haka, who talks about Art. I'd recommend you guys check that out because it's pretty astonishing what he does as an individual player. Kind of warps the entire game by himself. However, he's not still great that for DFS purposes. Like he presents a unique, unprecedented level of aggression, and sometimes it gets punished, so he just like runs in and dies sometimes. So he's still not fantastic for DFS purposes, but the point remains that they have like really strong players, and they are a deserved favorite, just considering that the pedigree that they've shown over time. But there's just too many question marks here for me. And then we know Wisla Krakow, they've been playing well, they're beating teams. I don't know. It feels a little bit like I'm talking myself into the underdog here, but it's still just going to be so hard to get away from Keserato. Like, let's see, for example, for Fnatic, Smuya is just severely underpriced, their best player, so he probably just goes in captain. Then we have Metzi, Brawlin, and Crims. I don't know, probably just go with like Metzi and Crims there for the price there. Again, Keserato, like one of the best players in the world. You're probably going to want to play Yuri. And it's like, do you want to go down to Art? Probably not. Drop. I mean, Art's viable. Like, Art's a crazy player. He can get there sometimes, but he's just risky, and he can have like a really bad maps that just kill you instantly. So I don't think you can X out Art, but he's not ideal. And I think you would maybe want to get to Safi, although it's a little tough. But like, for example, if we were to build with Wisla Krakow, they have like Snatchy, Sobal, Jedker. Snatchy's still underpriced. Jedker's a little underpriced, but I don't know if I want to get there. I think you want to play Keserato anyway. I mean, I don't want to, build the lineup for you guys, but I don't know. I think this looks pretty good. Maybe I'm a little crazy and I just want to replicate what won yesterday. I don't know. Maybe there's a little aspect of that when I'm trying to construct today. But, there's too many question marks here. I feel like maybe they win a map and they could win this series. I think Wisla Krakow can, but I think there's just like, you pretty much have to play Keserato when he's at this price. Snatchy's super underpriced as well. So that kind of leaves you, kind of wherever you want. Maybe you can go get different and go with like pay up for Brawlin. I'd imagine Brawlin will be super under-owned because of his price. Like, even if you did like Snatchy, Keserato, Art, and then playing Brawlin and hope Brawlin is an important piece, like what I showed with the stats, he's not that great, and he's super expensive. So you're probably not going to want to get to him that often. But maybe that's a leverage opportunity you guys can seize. Again, I don't want to go too far and build lineups for you guys, but that's what I'm thinking. I like Fnatic 2-1 or 2-0. I like Fnatic pretty good. I think they get the job done pretty well here. 2-0. I like Smuya a lot. You can probably fill out the rest depending on what else you're going. And I'll go with Furia 2-1. I still think there's just a little bit too much there. The inactivity worries me. And if you guys, maybe I should mention this, but if you guys don't know that much about Furia, they are like the definition of volatility. Like even when they had their coach filling in for them, their coach was an absolutely abysmal individual player. Like, could you guys imagine any other any other sport or esport where a coach has to fill in for a player? Like, it's just not going to be good news. And they were still like competing. Like, it was like mind blowing. Like, they would be like minus 1,000 or plus 1,000 underdogs, and they would still like compete. Like, the individual talent that these players have, like Caserado, Yuri, Art, like the highs they have are like borderline like unprecedented. But again, at the same time, they present wild lows. Maybe I should have brought this up ahead of time, but I've actually played like pretty heavy underdogs against them in the past. Let's see if I can find it. But essentially what had happened is they Furia were at the peak of their skill, and my apologies. I'm trying to find the like information on the other tab here. I don't know. I'm not sure where it is. Maybe I'll bring that up another time. But essentially, what had happened was Furia was super strong, and they were looking good, and they were going against another super low level Brazilian team. Maybe I could find it here in their match history. And they were huge favorites, and they ended up being super close with them, and I ended up playing the people on the other side just because of that volatility. And it ended up coming in like really well. Maybe it was even more than a year ago. Yeah, it looks like it was more than a year ago. Wow. But the point, there's a super roundabout point, is that Furia have extreme volatility. So if you want to 3-stack them and hope they 2-0, that's fine. You could 3-stack against them and hope they get 0-2. That's honestly well within the possibilities as well. Here it is. So I wish it showed like odds or something, but at the time, they Furia were like minus 1,500 or something. Like Isurus was like a plus 1,250 underdog, I think. And let's see, when was this? November 24th, 2020. I'll try to find this on my Twitter, see if I can have like a screenshot for you guys. November 4th. Nope. Nope. I guess that's maybe not it. Because I don't see it on my Twitter. Sorry, I'm like wasting your guys' time a little bit here towards the end, but yep. Again, the point being, pretty much, Furia have extreme volatility. They can like do pretty bad here. I know for a fact this was the series because I remember waking up in between the second and third map, and I was like utterly shocked. I was like in first in the 10K or something, and then it came down to the third map, and it was super close. And I needed like 4 points to win the 10K tourney, but they couldn't get it done. Furia ended up winning. So maybe, hopefully, I can find that for you guys, because that was actually my biggest CSGO hit ever. I believe I got like second or third in the 10K to first, so I ended up cashing like 1,500, I think. So again, the super roundabout point of the whole rant was Furia are extremely volatile. Wisla Krakow are a pretty good sound team. So I don't mind taking the shot there. If you want to go Caserado, Snatchy, and Sobal, I think that is a perfectly fine thing. If you want to, I think Yuri and Safi are fine. Art is a long shot, but he can get there. Jedker is pretty underpriced, based off of what I showed you guys earlier. So it's going to be tough to kind of give out a prediction here, but I think Fnatic 2-0. I'll go. I kind of talked myself into the other dog here. I'll go. I don't know. I'll go Furia 2-1, but that's one where I am super split on. Maybe I should just go Wisla Krakow, but it's still like Wisla Krakow could win the series 2-1, and Furia could still have a better DFS performance. But this will be a super interesting series to watch because it'll be a good gauge of where Furia is coming together as a team. Again, I can't iterate this enough. Furia have super strong individual players. Caserado, top 20 in the world. Yuri right behind him, but not quite there. Safi was performing very well. Art is, an enigma as always. And then Drop has not been great, but every team needs kind of somebody who's willing to play for the team and not have individual statistics. So, it depends, who knows where they are in skill. We have like very little information to go off of. We know they have incredibly talented players, but, Wisla Krakow have been playing. They've been playing well. They've been winning. So that's where you kind of get the personal feel for you guys. Again, Caserado underpriced, Snatchy underpriced, Jedker underpriced, Brawlin underpriced. There's a lot of ways to go here. I think for me, I'm personally just going to X out Apex and go from there. I'll probably have to mull this over and think about what I want to do with this Furia side. There's a real possibility I end up going with a Furia 3-stack. I could probably go like Soball and Snatchy and then throw in a Caserado 1-off. But again, that's one where I like the build, but do I like it because it's what won me yesterday? So that's something where I'll have to, kind of mull over and consider. So hopefully, I don't know how long this video's been. I feel like I've ranted for like 45 minutes. Probably have. But hopefully you guys found some good information from this, and hopefully we can win some money together. I know that I've been doing content, and then I take a few days off and then win a tournament. So it feels a little bad personally for me. I'd love to get group wins. I'd love to see people who follow me and trust my picks, and hopefully they can, win stuff as well. So, hopefully we can do this together, and I'll try to keep up the content going forward for these slates. Hopefully we get some more than 2 gamers. These 2 gamers are pretty boring for me, but got to do with what they give us. So I'll see you guys when I see you guys.